Well, I'm joined by the outgoing Chief Executive of the Events Industry Alliance, Trevor Foley. Trevor, I'd like to talk to you about the IPA Bellwether report which has just come out, but before I do, I want some context for this. Does the IPA just measure B2C expenditure, or does it measure B2B as well?
It's very much my understanding that it's a B2B measure as well as B2C in a £40 billion marketing spend pie in the UK.
And what proportion of that spend is estimated to be B2B in comparison to B2C?
At a best guess, I think it's fairly equal, and if anything, a slight bias towards B2B.
OK, well, if that's the case, I fail to understand why the IPA would not recognise the power of events, particularly when you look at the proposed UBM Informa merger, where 35% of their combined revenues would be the single largest category at 35%.
James, I think that's a classic example. The media pages of the quality newspapers are full of details on this proposed deal at the moment, that events are the major part of that deal. And for the IPA to dismiss what is modern marketing in preference to traditional marketing is astonishing.
And within the B2B field, it's even more astonishing that the new arenas in the marketing world are pointing towards digital live communications and moving away from traditional advertising.
That's exactly what's happening. We were told that if events were seen to be significant when they first measured them, that they would be retained within the Bellwether report. They were 0.1% behind the internet, and for some reason got dropped. I think we're looking at political protectionism.
Well, in that case, isn't it just time that the EIA and other relevant associations and stakeholders put their hands up and started to create their own modern, relevant report?
We're looking at that, but in the first instance, I would like IPA to say why they've dropped it. They won't even engage with us to tell us why they dropped events, PR, and market research again. I think that's a good start point, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Now, Trevor, I first started talking to you over 2 years ago, and at that time, the AEO, the EIA message was very much about the power of live communications and the role it could play in an integrated marketing mix. Now, as events take more and more of that marketing spend and people move to a modern marketing mix, is it time for the EIA itself to acknowledge the fact that that message has landed, and it's time perhaps to start addressing other issues such as government support to create the infrastructure to support those events?
Arguably that's the case, but I think there's so much work can be done still with clients, with agencies, with the press, with academia, just to get that really embedded in the infrastructure of what we're trying to communicate. And without doubt, on a daily basis, I'm finding that the messages that promote events are getting through, and there's still a lot more work to be done on that. Government, well, you know, it's difficult to achieve a great deal. They've changed 3 of their departments in the last year to now include the word events within what they're doing. It seems at the moment more to be a naming exercise than a reality, but we'll keep pushing.
Well, you talked there about the name game. The EIA itself, the Events Industry Alliance, and its sister or junior at the Association of Event Organisers, is a much broader appeal than it is its tradition of being in the exhibitions industry. And I have to say, I was extremely disappointed at the recent AEO Awards that all of the awards and all of the categories, bar one, pointed at the old exhibitions industry.
I think to some extent that's true, and AEO will set about an evolutionary process. It can't be a revolution. There are so many other sectors of the industry. But if you look at the venue side, the contractor side, without doubt there's diversification there, and very much a message that they are holding or managing a much wider spread of event-based activities.
But what about the agencies? What about the service companies? What about the hoteliers? What about the hospitality industry that cater for meetings, which are considerably greater in number as far as events are concerned than just exhibitions?
Correct. They're starting to come. Without doubt, the conversations we're having, most of the calls into our offices now are from clients. They are from the groups you've just mentioned, and it will be evolution, not revolution. But it's happening, and it's a very, very positive position.
Well, as things do converge, they don't just converge locally. They're converging nationally, as you proved with the creation of the EIA and its sister organisations. Now we're seeing the creation of global networks, such as venue networks. We're seeing the creation of global media companies. Is it now time that the associations reflected that move or that shift towards globalisation and formed a global association to represent the events industry?
I think that's absolutely the case. We're very much in a global industry. Look at my air miles this year in terms of presenting the live events work messages this year. It's been very much a global exercise, and we've pulled 3 global associations into the EIA as supporting partners from as far afield as Australia, the Global Exhibition Logistics Association, closer to home in Ireland, but we're pulling that network together.
Now, Trevor, we started by saying that you were the outgoing Chief Executive of the Events Industry Alliance. What now for Trevor? Are you going to be involved in the industry? Are we going to be seeing more of you?
I may not be disappearing because discussions are being had about me continuing to be involved in the public-facing side of EIA's activities. After 10 years, it's certainly time for me to allow somebody else the chance to run the associations. But the message is, it's powerful, it's interesting, and I'm still going to be out there shouting about it.
Tell us, what are you going to be doing, Trevor?
Hopefully some public speaking, but I'm also going to be doing practical things in the industry. I'm not disappearing from the events industry. It's going to be a speaker bureau. It will be perhaps some other association management. It will very much be some products and services that I can't announce at the moment that will be launched very much into the event space, and hopefully partnerships with EIA and other organisations in doing that.
If you were to look to your headstone of Trevor Foley, 1998 to 2008, what would you like it to read?
Well, I was brought in to try and put the events industry on the media landscape because we were very much a poor relation, and I've set about doing it, and I hope I've gone some way towards achieving it. It's a mountain to climb. I'll still be involved, but I hope there's some recognition that I've achieved something in that agenda.
Trevor Foley, thank you.
Thanks, James.